meeting is being recorded.
We'll call this meeting of the Veterinary Medical Board to order with the official roll call.
Dr. Noland?
Present.
Ms. Bowler?
Present.
Dr. Bradbury?
Here.
Ms. Laredo?
Here.
Ms. Prado?
Here.
Dr. Solicito is absent today. Ms. Yanes? She's also absent currently. Dr. Nunez?
Here.
This is Alana. I'm here.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry, Alana. Thank you. All right. We have a quorum.
Okay, welcome everyone. It's nice to see you all. Welcome to all of our viewers. I wish we could have a roll call of all of our viewers, but we're in a new reality and we don't do that anymore, but welcome. Before we start, I want to thank Christy Pulowski for running the MDC meeting yesterday. She had mentioned this before, but I think it's worth mentioning. I know we like to measure things in years, and now that we got over 2020 with the pandemic, things are supposed to get easier, but I know for a lot of us, it's not easier. And I thank everyone for all the hard work that they do in light of the new realities that we have to face. And hopefully with all the issues that we have to deal with, we can all be kind to each other and respectful to each other, because life is tough enough. And I consider all of you my friends, and I look forward to seeing you every 3 months. So let's get to it, shall we? Agenda item number 2, public comments on items not on the agenda. The moderator will soon open up the microphones to you all and explain how to make a comment. Again, these are for items that are not on the agenda. So if you have something to say about other agenda items, please hold it until that time. Moderator.
This is the moderator. We have opened the Q&A panel for public comments. If you'd like to make a public comment, please click on the Q&A icon located on your screen. Type, "I would like to make a comment" into the text field and submit that to all panelists. Public comments will be taken in the order that they are received. Each public commenter will have a 3-minute time limit, and we will pause for a brief moment to allow time for submission of those requests. And seeing none, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please.
It is closed.
You know, a couple of weeks ago, there was another story about a Canadian legislature being caught without their clothes on camera. So that's one anxiety I always have, is having the camera on and catching things that we shouldn't see. But rest assured, I'm wearing pants, and hope you like the background today. I don't know if I hid a little Easter egg somewhere in the background. Maybe you can direct message me if you ever find it. So the next agenda item is to review the minutes from the January 2021 board meeting. Everyone has had an opportunity to view that. We will hear corrections, revisions on it. I usually rely on Kathy Bowler to find something. She seems to be the minute maid, the minute person to find it all.
and willingness to serve on both work groups. We'll continue to update you as these initiatives progress. As always, Board and Bureau Relations is here to help. If there's anything we can do to assist, please reach out. This concludes my presentation, and I'll hand it back over to Board President Nunez.
Can you make a couple more comments on the enlightening licensing process? The last thing you mentioned?
Sure. And, I actually may hand this question over to Jessica Sieferman so she can give a little inside view on what she's been working on.
Sure. So the whole intent of this project is to review licensing processes, and we can get pretty granular in the process from start to finish. And we review it with, I co-chair it with Christy Underwood, who is the executive officer of Board and Barber Cosmetology. And we review the processes, but we also bring subject matter experts in from all the boards within DCA. And we all provide some feedback, and then we all learn from each other. So we're able to really identify best practices among all of us. And so we can all learn together and improve processes together. So the idea is to identify ways not only to streamline, but to save costs to us and to our stakeholders as well.
So we've been making some extreme makeovers to our enforcement processes, and also looking into our licensing processing. We're going to be lean and mean by the time Jessica's through with it. And later on, you'll see, I think that our practice act is going to be reduced to a 17-page document with all the changes that we're making with duplicative areas and so forth. Does any board member have any additional questions for the DCA? We don't have to open up.
Mark, can I interrupt you?
Yes.
I don't know if you would have this answer or not, Gary, but we 3 or 4 months ago were asking about the executive officer evaluation and pay raise and whatnot, and I think we went and tried to mediate that, or at least apply for. I think our executive officer works very hard, as you have already indicated. Any movement on that? Any idea of whether that's going to be possible either now or in the future to give her a raise?
Who wants to break the good news?
I certainly would be a fan if I got an opinion. But the evaluations and all those considerations do happen working with DCA's human resources in the late fall. So the good news is that's after this budget season. Bad news is that it always is difficult to get any movement on those issues, but I can assure you that the department and our partners at agency are always really advocating for the boards and bureaus, and really appreciative of the hard work that the executive officers do. And if Jessica has more to say, I see her hand up.
Yeah, so the last evaluation that the board submitted last year, as you all know, it was denied, but CalHR had directed DCA to resubmit the same package in February. And so that same package was resubmitted in February. And I do know that the DCA director and individuals in DCA's HR met with CalHR. And after that meeting, they did approve the 5% raise. So it finally went through.
Yeah. So
I didn't know that. Thank you so much for jumping in, and congratulations.
that was the good
Well
news
done.
I was talking about.
Yay!
So Jamie, the package that you worked so hard on was resulted in a pay raise. So
Well, I'm thrilled because Jessica is so deserving, and I'm very, very excited to hear that news. Thank you. That's great news.
Sadly, there was a generalized pay cut through everyone in the DCA, but I think it in the end it worked out well, and good job. So any other questions from the board for Karen Holmes? I see a hand up.
I know, shocking. Hi, Carrie. Thank you for coming. And that is great news. Yay, Jessica. Jessica and I, she gives us an update, and she was talking about the DOI and some of the issues we were having in recovering investigative fees based on the formatting of the how they were. I think it was formatting the documents given to the DAG, and I'm just wondering if you were going to comment on that here, or if there was any need to comment on that. Jessica maybe can say that too.
I didn't have anything prepared for that item, but I can certainly get more information if Jessica doesn't have it right now either.
I can just let you know that I know that DFI and DCA, especially the director of DCA, King Kirkmeyer, is working closely with DFI to make sure that we do have an updated cost declaration from DFI. They did make an announcement last week that they hope to roll out the new format by the end of the month. Right now, I believe the format has been approved through DCA and is now with the Attorney General's office for review and approval. So we're hoping to have a new cost declaration by the end of this month.
Okay. Do we have to open it up for the public questions? Okay, then moderator, could you please open up for members of the public if you have any questions for our DCA representative?
This is the moderator. We have opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a comment, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type "I would like to make a comment" into the text field, and submit that to all panelists. Seeing none, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please.
It is closed.
All right. Christy Pawlowski, I don't see your lovely face on my screen here, but I assume you're here somewhere for the report on the MDC.
I'm here. I just was waiting to be promoted. So I'm here. Good morning. How are all of you doing? So I actually am I talked to Jessica yesterday, and because of how things play out, I think it will be easier if we switch and go to the last part and give an overview of our report yesterday first, and then go back to each recommendation that we had from the last meeting. So I think it will be easier. So yeah, 5D. First, I would like to thank Stuart Ekman. His last meeting was our last meeting in January, and he served on the MDC. He has since moved out of state, so he's no longer qualifies to be on the MDC. And then Dr. Meg Warner, who also took a job out of state, and so she was not able to attend our meeting yesterday, but I want to thank both of them for their hard work. Both of them were valuable members of our MDC and will be greatly missed. So I want to thank both of them. And thank you guys for interviewing today for the position for Dr. Warner. And Dr. Lazarsheff, I guess, of course. So first, I will welcome Maria Sperber. It was very nice. Thank you for that appointment. It's nice when somebody is ready to go on their first meeting and jumps in and actually participates and has conversation. So it was a welcome change to have her participate yesterday. So thank you again for that appointment. Telemedicine subcommittee report. We were very excited as a subcommittee to be able to present definitions for telehealth, telemedicine, teletriage, and teleconsultation. These definitions were carefully researched. The subcommittee presented them to the MDC yesterday, and through discussion, we have decided we need to address one area of concern before presenting it to the board. because the MDC and its subcommittee carefully review current statutes and regulations, and because we believe we must present a recommendation which clarifies the Veterinary Medicine Practice Act instead of conflicts, the MDC chose to withdraw and rework this proposal and represent it at the next meeting. So we really have some powerful statements and some great information, which I think Jennifer and Dr. Bradbury would be able to help support that, but just some clarifications, and before presenting it to the board, we're going to pull it back and really make sure that we're clear on this. For the VCPR and frequently asked, did you want to stop and ask any questions on that? Anybody?
I'm not sure if board members have been able to read the memo that is in the MDC agenda. That has all the definitions of the tele-universe.
Exactly.
And it's important that we get this right, because it does have an awful lot of correlation with how we define the VCPR and how the VCPR is going to be applied to the new telemedicine that's being thrust upon us with the new reality of our world. So it's very integrated, and the terms need to be right. And so I applaud the wisdom of the MDC chair to not make too rapid of a decision on how these terms are defined. But if you haven't read it, it's in the agenda items in the MDC meeting yesterday.
And I strongly encourage all of you to read them, because I think that we were very open when we defined these terms, and I think that we hit on all points, and I think that it should satisfy a lot of the concerns, and so I think that it's something that we really tried to work with everybody on.
I thought they were rock solid until Body Lutz checked. And then she ruined everything.
But I believe we've already come up with a fix that actually isn't going to make it tweak too much, so it's okay.
This is Kathy. One thing I would also suggest, I know I was watching the MDC the whole time yesterday, but for any other board members that might not have seen it all, to just go online and watch the discussion that you had yesterday, because it was quite useful and detailed. So thank you, Christy, and the MDC. But anyway, I assume it's on the web by now, the archived webcast.
I think it takes like a couple days. I think it's usually 2 to 3 days, but yeah, it's usually up.
It's usually about a week or so.
So, well, it comes, I think what I do is I usually look about 2 days after the Veterinary Medical Board meeting, and that's usually when it's posted. So, okay, so the VCPR and the frequently asked questions, as you guys will know, this came up because even during your board meeting, you all had a ton of questions and could not really define in what situational circumstances when the VCPR meant one thing. And so the subcommittee was formed to help define and come up with frequently asked questions so that it made it easier for board staff and even answering these questions. So the MDC was tasked with developing a frequently asked questions sheet. We believe this will be an ongoing work in process, and because as people read these questions, they come up with more questions, and then it's making sure that we're just continually adding on to these. So what is being presented to the board is just so that we want it to be considered the beginning and not the end. We will believe it'll be never ending. And we would like to get it published to assist board staff as soon as possible. So that will be presented to you at your next meeting.
And board members, there's 5 questions on that question and answer. It's a closed book examination. I'll submit your answers by the end of the meeting. And just so you know, I got 5 out of 5 correct yesterday. So.
I will say that I think this is probably one of the most helpful tools that can be created for the profession, because people are very confused on a regular basis. And I cannot even imagine what the staff has to go through in trying to answer these questions. So, because as a subcommittee, we would go down a road, and you have to be very careful, because you'd go back and be like, oh wait, here's another law over here, and so you have to be very careful. So the veterinary premises inspection checklist, this subcommittee is reviewing the difficulty in meeting the 20% inspection mandate. The VMB is the only board with this mandate, and it seems unrealistic. So the subcommittee is still gathering information, however, believes inspection should be an educational tool, with citations being given for egregious violations. And there is an app which could assist in the inspection process and make it easier, but that's going to be something that comes later. And there is some discussion on who the inspectors should be. So since we do not have hired and we do contract out with licensees, and it seems to be the more appropriate method of doing it, but we're not really sure at this point. So we're going to be getting more information at our next MDC meeting. But this subcommittee was very enlightening, and it was nice to hear this report and get more information even from other states and jurisdictions. The complaint process audit subcommittee, they reviewed 8 cases this time, and it was including citations, petitions to revoke probation, and other disciplinary actions. The subcommittee was given cycle times for each step in the interactive process, given monetary costs related to each step, and their findings in these 8 cases included that all experts properly identified the standard of care. 2 reviews did not cite sources when it would have been appropriate to cite sources, and 4 of the reviews contained biased language. When given feedback, the subject matter experts were very appreciative. So that's what they've wanted all along, and they feel that this is a great process, and they're very receptive to the feedback. The cases involving multiple experts, just an overview of all this, I'm not going to go through the whole report, but cases involving multiple experts could cause conflicting opinions, which could affect the strength and outcome of the case. Cases involving criminal convictions should not require an expert. Subcommittee recognized multiple resource issues like time and cost related to these cases, and the board has already been addressing that since 2019, so they've been saving costs there. And the subcommittee also found that if staff management had implemented these improvements on those 8 cases, the board would have seen the following savings. If used a single expert instead of multiple experts, $450 to $1,150 savings per case. Fully vetting a case before it went to the Attorney General, over $34,000 savings. And then utilizing the investigative report from the DEA instead of a duplicative usage of the DOI report, over almost a $7,000 savings. So just in their subcommittee's research and following these 8 cases, the total savings was $47,767. So these are things that are changes that are already implemented, but this is, they're going to continue the process and evaluate these things to help the process improve even more. So the last thing that we talked about, we are looking for volunteers on our subcommittee to help make webinars. And we have one on the statutes and regulations, learning what the board does. And then we also brought up that it would probably be a good idea to make one on telemedicine and the VCPR once we have clearly defined those, because that obviously is going to be something that we need to do. Any questions on what happened? That was a very quick overview of yesterday.
No, I think with $47,000, we can buy uniforms for our hospital inspectors.
I have a quick question for Christy. When you meant $7,000, was that over all 8 of the cases that were reviewed? The last number? Yeah. So that was their savings over the cases. Yeah. Some of them, like the expert, was per case, but then the other ones were the total for the 8 cases.
And that doesn't mean that all 8 had DFI. I think with that dollar amount, it might have been maybe 1 or 2 that had DFI.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I think again, I'm really impressed with the work that's being done at the MDC to just really reevaluate all the things that we do at the board, hospital inspections not excluded, to just see how we can do things better and how we can save money on a lot of things that we're doing. The complaint audit subcommittee, Dr. Lashechev and Dr. Warner is just remarkable on some of the cost-saving items that they found that we'll talk about later on.
Yeah, I think Rob, and I don't want to discount, and Rob has helped them a lot, and they've been very appreciative of his help and really just all the information he helps them with, and I think that's important to mention as well.
I agree.
Mark, can I say one quick thing?
Yes.
I know we're not finished with Christie's report, but I just want to, watching the MDC yesterday again reminded me how lucky we are to have the MDC. Most states boards don't have a committee like we have that helps do the deep dive research and present sort of package things to the board that are researched by experts in the field, both public members and professionals. So we're really lucky to have the MDC. That's all I could say as a board member. Thank you.
Thank you.
They work very hard, obviously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. Does any other board members have any questions for our fabulous MDC chairperson?
We have A, B, and C to go through as well.
Do you have any questions about her overview of the meeting yesterday? And then there's some recommendations we have to listen to. Okay.
So I will go through the A. We can start with the RVT Foreign Graduate Review Program. So we had been given a report from Ms. Gritman of AAVSB Board of Directors, and she is discussed PAVE for veterinary technicians. And they define an international veterinary technician or nurse graduate as a veterinary technician or nurse whose degree was conferred outside of the US and Canada by a recognized post-secondary professional school of veterinary technology or nursing or equivalent program. And basically, the purpose of the PAVE for veterinary technicians is to assess the educational equivalence of international veterinary technician or nurse graduates on behalf of participating AAVSB member boards. So this process is to make it easier for us in California to approve potential foreign graduates to sit for the VTNE. It ensures that the certified credential candidates have the qualifications and experience so that that for accredited by AVMA CVTA. So then the candidates must substantiate English language proficiency and when submitting the application. And then AAVSB will require a letter directly from the Ministry of Education from each country stating that a program is recognized by the national government. And then the member board has access to secure online portal access to electronic copies of their vault verified stamped official transcripts. Then regarding gap content, and this is one area where I did have questions. So if there are missing areas in their education, Ms. Gritman stated that candidates will receive a report indicating what gap content is required after an evaluation, and that candidates will then have the opportunity to apply to an accredited program in order to complete the required coursework. So my biggest concern was that that our schools would have to allow the students to fill in any coursework during that time, but they assured me that that they would be working directly with the schools to allow that to happen. And then certificate holders are eligible to submit an AAVSB VTNE online application for examination eligibility. And examination eligibility requirements are determined by each jurisdiction. So AAVSB reviews the application, and based on the requirements and the applicant is available for applying for a licensure. So then they're expecting pay for veterinary technicians application to launch later in 2021. So I'm not sure how much later, but she made it sound like it was going to be summer or fall before it was going to be completely active. But this would allow us to have the ability to get more RVT foreign graduates into California.
Christy, you're concerned about the foreign graduates and the gap portion of their
my only concern with it, but she assured me it would be it wouldn't be an issue. So my only concern with it was that a school, so say there was just one area, and Jennifer may be able to address this more, that there would be one or two areas of education that a student or a foreign graduate needed to complete. How does that applicant then go into our education program, and how do they accept them in when it's just one or two areas? When usually our courses are completed courses, they have to somehow fit that in. But she said that they would be looking at local colleges and community colleges for that particular coursework.
So they need to take the courses a la carte as opposed to a pre-fee meal.
Yeah, exactly. Great way of saying that, Dr. Nunez. That was perfect.
I see.
Okay. So members, the legislative proposal that the MDC is recommending is attached in the meeting materials. It allows us to accept the PAVE certificate for RVTs, similar to how we already accept it for veterinarians. Another thing it does, though, is removes the board from essentially the pre-evaluation for the examination. Since we don't administer the examination, we would like to be removed from the eligibility portion of the examination. So if you look at on page 4 of the attachment, you'll see that we're striking in the first sentence to be eligible to take the written and practical examination. We're striking that because we're moving that just to the AAVSB, so they'll apply directly for AAVSB to take the national exam, and then they'll apply for us once they've passed the exam and once they have all their education. That's when they'll apply with us, and then we'll do that evaluation to make sure that education is equivalent and that they passed all the other requirements. So it removes us as the barrier to them taking the exam.
Again, because that's duplicative. It's something that the AAVSB is already doing. We don't need to do it as well.
So do we want a motion?
Yes, and so the requested motion is on page 3, right after action requested.
So I would like to entertain a motion for the recommendations from the MDC in regards to the pay program for RVT applicants.
I have a quick question, but I can also motion and then ask my question. If you want me to do that? Because we'll have a discussion after that. So let me read it. Let's see if I can find it. You said page 3.
It says under action requested.
The MDC requests that the board recommend to the California State Legislature for inclusion in the board's sunset bill the legislative proposal to amend BPC section 4841.5 to remove the initial education credits review application requirement and authorize foreign RVT graduate applicants to submit education equivalency certified by the AAVSB to take the VTNE and obtain California RVT registration.
I'll second it.
It's been motioned and seconded, and Dr. Sullivan, if you're listening, the board is taking action on a recommendation from the MDC. We had a little disagreement about that yesterday. Any questions from the board?
This is just a curiosity question, but did the AAVSB indicate what the cost might be for a foreign graduate to go through this equivalency
Yes.
process?
They actually did. So the application fee will be $300. There's an additional $185 fee for comprehensive evaluation report completed by ACEI, and if applicable, a $95 fee for an evaluation report of high school, secondary school transcripts. There may be additional fees for translating documents to English.
All right, any additional questions from any of the board members? Hearing none, we can open it up to members of the public.
This is the moderator. We have opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a public comment, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen. Type "I would like to make a comment" into the text field and submit that to all panelists. Our first comment comes from Nancy Gritman. Nancy, your line is open and you will have 3 minutes.
Yeah, this is Nancy Gritman, obviously Senior Director of Program Services with AAVSB, and thank you for having this action item, and very excited to have California at the forefront of this and to moving forward. And I know the one question, around the gap courses is that we are working diligently. There are over 200 accredited veterinary technology programs in both the US and Canada. And obviously many of them take transient students that can take a course here or a course there. So as well as within those, there's certainly a number of distance learning programs as well that very confident that will be able to do and complete the coursework that is needed. So but yeah, very excited that California is leading the forefront, and we'll be continuing working with the other jurisdictions around the US and Canada to follow and hopefully accept the PAVE for veterinary technician program as well. But we're diligently working on all of our website. More than likely, we anticipate we will launch in the fall, not necessarily in the summer, but probably late fall, third, early fourth quarter, with some other projects that we have going on.
Nancy, I think that an a la carte student sounds better than a transient student.
Yeah. We'll use the a la carte, Dr. Nunes.
And how are there just as many RVT programs internationally? I certainly know there's lots of veterinary programs, but are they just as popular?
As far as international programs in other countries, is that what your question is?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know we receive quite often inquiries, in particular from the UK and Australia, and so I am planning to reach out to them in particular to start what we would call sort of that accredited list, similar to what the AVMA ECFEG has, that we utilize for the Pay for Veterinary program. We'll have that accredited colleges of the world list. So we want to get ahead of the game a little bit, per se, and reach out to certainly the international boards that we're aware of that have, certainly have established accredited government, accredited programs, and
Yeah.
in the various countries, so we can start creating that list ahead of time. So that's on our
I
list.
know I cannot practice without my RVTs.
Yeah.
They're such a vital part of our team, and hopefully this will bring up the number of candidates available.
And I told you she assured me with the gap content. That was her answer, assured me, but I couldn't relay it as well as she did. So
And this is the moderator. Seeing no additional requests for comment, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please.
It is closed.
So it has been motioned and seconded. We've had comments from the board and from the public. So we can move on to a vote.
Ms. Bowler,
Aye.
Dr. Bradbury,
Yes.
Ms. Laredo,
Yes.
Ms. Prado,
Yes.
Ms. Yanis, Ms. Yanis. Oh, you're muted, but I saw that you said yes.
Sorry about that.
Dr. Nolan,
Yes.
Dr. Nunez.
I mean, yes.
Motion carries.
Christy, you have another item?
yes, B. So we can move on to licensing fees and expiration dates. Oh, is that telemedicine? Okay, wait, sorry.
It's telemedicine.
So on this one, I would like to not beat a dead horse, so to speak, because things have changed and we've already discussed this, I think 100 times. So I don't feel I need to discuss this over again. The recommendation from the MDC is to make no changes to the regulatory VCPR condition specific provision. I don't believe I need to say more. We've discussed this. You know where we are with the definitions, and I don't think there's anything new to add to this discussion.
The only thing I would add, members, is as you know, the last time the board asked for an extension in the waiver, it was at least until the MDC can make their final recommendations or until the end of the state of emergency. And so right now, the MDC has made their recommendations. So the board would need to decide, do we want to ask the DCA director to extend the waivers throughout the end of the state of emergency or not? So that would be another thing for the board to consider.
And also, board members, this was in response to a question from the DCA if we wanted to make any of the waivers permanent. And so basically the MDC is saying that no, at this point, we don't want to make any of these waivers permanent. So they would theoretically go away when the state of emergency is lifted.
Correct. So the authority of the waiver would go away as soon as the state of emergency is lifted. But also another waiver that the DCA director has been granting is that face-to-face requirement for the California curriculum. That one was not discussed with the MDC since the board is already opting to remove that requirement completely.
So this is just specifically for the VCPR condition specific provision. Any questions or any motion from board members? Or do we need a motion if the MDC is recommending no action?
I would just request that if you would like the waivers to be extended throughout the end of the state of emergency, then just to make a motion to that effect.
Okay.
This is Kathy. Can I ask a quick question? And I may have missed it in Carrie's report. I know the governor, we're opening up, quote unquote, June 15th or whatever. There's not a, we don't have a sense of when the state of emergency is going to be lifted, correct?
Correct. We have not heard anything to that effect yet.
Okay, I just wanted to know that.
This is Christina, or Dr. Bradbury. I'd like to make a motion to extend the waivers till the end of the state of emergency.
I'll second that.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any comments and questions from board members? And I'm sorry, Jessica, there are two waivers that would be affected by this motion.
Yeah, it's related to the prescription refill for the 18 months and the condition-specific VCPR language.
Okay. Any additional questions or comments from board members? All right, hearing none, moderator, could you open it up for members of the public?
This is the moderator. We have opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a comment, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen. Type "I would like to make a comment" into the text field and submit that to all panelists. And seeing no requests, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please.
It is closed.
All right. It's been motioned and seconded. Comments have been made by the board and the opportunity for the public. So we will call for the vote.
Ms. Bowler. Dr. Bradbury.
Yes.
Ms. Laredo.
Yes.
Ms. Prado.
Yes.
Ms. Yanis. Ms. Yanis. I can see you're saying yes. We can't hear you. Dr. Noland?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Juan. Dr. Nunez?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Is your microphone working?
I'm muting myself out of respect. I don't want people to hear my dog snoring, so.
Oh. Motion carries. Agenda item 5C. I'm not sure if the website has the revised item, but you should have been.
It does.
It does now. Okay. So you also got an email on the revived item, but it's currently posted.
So I will start it and then do a handoff. We practiced, right? So this subcommittee has been tasked with finding alternative ways to generate revenue if RVT fees were decreased. If revenues needed to be decreased by $623,000 is basically what we were looking for. And that's not the full $1 million increase that was given to the RVTs. So the first attempt was to, and I'm going to give you a full history so that we don't have, I know there were a lot of questions last time. The first attempt was to collect data through a survey in order to determine if a tiered premises permit system would be a viable option. Only 2% of total premises populations responded to the survey. And we attempted to ask MDC members for assistance in collecting data, but determined the time required would be too detrimental. The subcommittee considered online searches of premises permit websites. However, we determined there was a lack of current and accurate information on the websites. We then discussed an easier, more user-friendly survey, but again determined the response rate would be similar since respondents are reluctant to answer questions when they don't know why they're responding. So the subcommittee and MDC agreed the board should update its renewal application to include full-time equivalent employment data. The board will have to pursue a regulatory amendment through the rulemaking process. This leads us to the fee proposal in front of you, and we heard your concerns at the last meeting regarding the veterinary assistant controlled substance permit and made adjustments. So they will have an initial $100 permit fee, and which is increased from $50. This increase would recoup enough costs to not increase the veterinarian fees again. So now I'm going to pass this on to Jessica, who's going to go over her recommendations and her cleanup language.
Just to clarify, this would add an initial permit fee. Right now, the VACSPs don't have a permit fee. All the other license types do, though. They have your initial application fee, you have the license fee, and then you have the renewal fee. For the application fee, that covers the costs for the evaluation of the application, but that permit fee is for the initial permit period for maintaining board operations related to that permit. And so right now, I think it's fair to add that permit fee for the VACSPs, and then it's also increasing the renewal fee from $50 to $100. As you all recall from the prior fee increase, we were unable to increase the VACSP fee because they were already at the statutory cap. So the new proposal before you that I had sent out, and it's in attachment 5 and 6, it shows you that we are adding a permit fee for $100 and then a renewal fee increasing that to $100 as well. We feel this more proportionally distributes the impact of the fee increases, and we would not have to increase it for veterinarians again. And then I figured since we're already in the revenue section, it would probably be best now to put all the cleanup language in this proposal as well. And so in this, typically when you have revenue, individuals go to one section of the Act to find all of the sources of revenue for the board. Unfortunately, our Practice Act is not necessarily organized like that currently. The revenue is all over the Practice Act. And so what I am proposing is moving all areas that we collect revenue under one article, section 5 for revenue. That's the bulk of the changes. And then we also combined duplicative requirements into one section. And then we also are adding a misdemeanor conviction just to align with current law. We are already requesting that information through the regulation, and I think that this is just aligning with that. We are also clarifying the expiration dates of the premises registration fees, because right now it's not clear on when the premises registration actually expires. All of this, again, is being combined into one section and removing any duplicative sections that we have. We're also going to require for those licensees who have an email to provide that email upon renewal. And then also upon renewal, this would require them to attest that their address of record and their email address is accurate. That way we can make sure that we have the most up-to-date information and be able to disseminate information as quickly and as timely as possible. So in your legislative proposal, really on attachment 5, it breaks it down. I did my best to show you guys what I have proposed in purple, and then the MDC recommendations in green. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer any of them. If not, there is an action requested in red on page 5.
And by combining all the areas where it discusses fees into one section is what I was referring to when I think Jesse was going to turn our practice act into a 17-page document. Because there's a lot of strikeouts.
Thank you, Jessica, for the creative option to increase the VACSP. I thought that was really great, especially because we need to take care of our vet techs since they make such lower wages. So I really do appreciate the creative thinking in this. Thank you.
And I agree with Alana 100%. Good job.
Yeah, and I did, and this is Kathy, I do too, and especially since it's a higher, it takes more work to do those licenses, and so that makes sense to have the increase there. So one thing, Jessica, I wanted to ask you on your revised document that was beautifully done, by the way, thank you, very clear. On the original spreadsheets, that we got from, I can't remember if it was finance or MDC, where it showed the RVT increases, the vet increases. Did we ever get, and it maybe not matter, new spreadsheets with the vet license not increased and the VA CSP increased?
I didn't have time to put that spreadsheet together to update that, but I can tell you the only difference is if you looked at option B, it would remove any changes to the veterinarian section, and then it would have added the VA CSP section that shows that we're adding the initial permit fee and then increasing the renewal from $50 to $100. I can tell you that the revenue that was collected for the veterinarian increase, as you see in option B, was $192,000, a little over that. With this VACSP, it would recoup enough to cover that revenue raised. And I also clarified, I also ran this through DCA budgets because I want to make sure all of my calculations are matching what they have on their end, and they confirmed that it was correct.
Okay, terrific. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure. I figured I hadn't missed it, and I realized there wasn't a lot of time to redo it. I just want to make sure that the numbers footed out so that we're saving the same amount or recouping the same amount, essentially. Okay, thank you.
So on page 5 of the agenda item, there are 2 potential actions. The first action is the one that was originally proposed by the MDC, and the second action in red is the action that was taken from the executive officer's addition of the VACSP, increasing the initial application and so forth. So choose one or the other, not both.
I would like to make a motion.
And the motion would start in the middle. If you're going to do with red, it would start in the middle of that paragraph where it says to approve. So the motion would be to approve. That's where the language starts.
Yeah, you don't have to read the whole paragraph. Like you have been doing.
Okay, now I'm confused. I don't see a to approve in the paragraph I was going to read.
I mean, I do. I can do it if you.
I see it.
I'm backing out. Okay.
Okay, I'm happy to. I'd like to make a motion to approve the new option and submit, and the executive officer recommendations, and submit to the California State Legislature attached revised legislative proposal for inclusion in the board sunset bill. And the new option is, of course, to raise the VACSP fee and renewal fees.
I'll second.
And I'm waiting to see if that passes Tara's muster.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, but
Just waiting for her now. All right. Well, it's been motioned and seconded. Any additional questions from the board? Moderator, if you please.
This is the moderator. We have opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a public comment, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type "I would like to make a comment" into the text field, and submit that to all panelists. I do see a member of the public who has raising their hand. She may be having trouble finding the Q&A. Diane Breutman. Diane, I've unmuted your line. You will have 3 minutes. Diane, if you're speaking, we cannot hear you. I will come. I don't have any other requests. Maybe check your microphone settings. If you click on the little menu next to your mute button, If you're on a computer, there's a little down arrow next to your mute button. You can click on that and choose another microphone source. President Nunes, it appears we do not have audio connection for the individual who's raising their hands. How would you like me to proceed?
Does that person have the ability to email or text a question? Anything like that?
I'm going to open the chat feature for the moment as well. So Diane Breutman, I've opened our chat feature. You should be able to see a chat box, an option that says chat with a little speech bubble. If you can click on that, you can send a message to the moderator or host. You can also, again, look for that Q&A icon on your screen and send a message that way.
Yeah, I don't see either one of those boxes being used.
I don't either, and I don't know that for a fact. I don't know that she can actually hear me either. If her microphone and speakers are connected, she may not be able to hear us either.
All right. I suppose we can either table the vote or just vote on it right now.
I would recommend to proceed. We do put on the agenda that in anticipation of potential technical difficulties, we've asked them to email written comments. I don't believe we received email written comments, but I do recommend to continue.
Okay, then let's do so.
Seeing no other requests, I will close the panel.
Thank you. It's been motioned and seconded, and Tara approved. And we've heard comments from the board and the public. Let's call for the vote.
Ms. Bowler?
Aye.
Dr. Bradbury?
Yes.
Ms. Laredo?
Yes.
Ms. Prado?
Yes.
Ms. Yanas?
Yes.
Dr. Noland?
Yes.
Dr. Nunez?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Christy, I think that's all the items on the agenda.
Yes, thank you very much.
No, thank you for everything. And this might be a good place to take a break before we start the interview process for the MDC veterinary member position. So let's take a quick break. What's our usual time, Jessica? Is it 10 minutes or 15 minutes?
Usually 15 minutes.
Okay, 15 minutes. See you back. If everyone is back, we will reconvene for the next agenda item, number 6, interviews, discussion, and possible appointments to fill vacant MDC veterinary member positions. We currently have 2 positions that are open, and one of the positions is to replace Dr. Laschep, who has expressed interest in being reappointed. And the other position was Dr. Warner's position, who was eligible to be reappointed but is leaving the state. So you should have their resumes and application packages, and there's also interview questions that were emailed to you. that we will ask after they been called. So what we'll do is we'll listen to the 4 applicants first and ask them questions, and then after we've heard from all 4 applicants, then what we'll do is we'll call for a nomination of the first open position and make a decision there, and then we'll call for nominations for the second open positions. Does that make sense? Everyone clear? And I just realized I didn't put my jacket back on. So if we can have Dr. Lasarchev start out, I think he's the first on the item.
Can I ask a procedural question before we start?
Yes.
We did get the list of questions. We have 8 questions, but I believe 7 members. So we did say that we're going in the order that's listed. Are you just going to ask number 1 and number 8 for every candidate?
We'll go by the roll call that Jessica has been calling. So I guess Jessica, call out the name. Who's going to ask the next question, and then we'll just kind of go through it that way.
Yeah, so I don't think we'll start over each time. I think Dr. Nunez would do number 8, and then Kathy would start on number 1 for the next one and just keep going in circles.
Okay. So is Dr. Lasarchev on?
Yes, yes.
I'm here.
Okay. So then with that, who has the first question then, Jessica?
You do, Dr. Nunez.
All right. Dr. Lasarchev, why are you interested in this position?
I've had the position for the last 3 years. I've enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed working on the case review. I think there's an important need for this committee and the influence and input that it gives to the board. Yeah, I'd just like to continue the work that we've been doing.
Okay. Next question is
For Kathy?
Thank you, Dr. Lasarchev. And this question isn't so perfect for you since you've been on the committee, but obviously you're familiar with the functions of a licensing board and the committee and the laws governing veterinary medicine. This question is, do you have sufficient time to commit to the MDC for all their collaborations, subcommittee meetings, research projects, etc.? And I guess the question for you is, do you feel like you will continue to have that kind of time? And obviously you know a little bit more about what time it is that is entailed in being on the committee. But anyway, that's the question. So if you could just, elaborate on your time commitment.
So that is probably the one point where I may not be the best candidate for this, because my time commitments have been rather constrained with trying to run a practice and the ever fun search for an associate that seems to evade me. So far, I've been able to manage it fairly well, but it's not without a struggle to find the time. It's actually been a little bit better with COVID to not have to travel up to Sacramento has made a lot of this quite a bit easier. But yeah, I believe I do, or I wouldn't have done it. Talked it over with my wife and my staff, and I do have enough relief vets to cover it for the most part. Yesterday for the meeting, I was covered by a relief veterinarian. I don't have that today, but this is a short period of time. So.
Is it me?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Hi, Dr. Lasarchev. Good to see you. How do you feel your education, background, and experience have prepared you for membership on the MDC? And what assets do you think you can bring to the MDC that would complement the current membership of the committee?
Okay, well, education, I mean, that's on my resume there. I've worked on a lot of different committees, not only through the CDMA, but other organizations as well. I've worked with this committee. I like all these people. I'm not necessarily a go along to get along person, but I do see the middle ground and strive for compromise. Again, this particular board and this committee is made up of some very reasonable people, and I think would be very easy to work with. People that can see all sides and come to a definitive agreement in what I think is an appropriate way to work together. Again, I strive not to be confrontational, but I'm not going to say yes just to say yes either.
Okay, I have the next question, and it's a good one. So,
oh boy.
Recommendations made by the MDC are based on its consumer protection mandate, and they're not always popular with the general profession. So how do you think you'll be able to handle making decisions based on the needs of consumers and their pets that may be unpopular with your colleagues?
Well, the consumer protection is all about protection of our clients and patients, and it's really easy to see what would be best for them. I mean, I may not always like every rule and regulation that comes down to from the Department of Consumer Affairs, but I do see its place, and it's, you know, actually in the best interest of those people who, you know, I'd love dearly and provide me a living, my clients and my patients, and I'm working towards on their behalf as well. I think you know, if you don't like what comes down, you need to look at your perspective maybe. That being said, you know, I might gripe occasionally too, but I do understand where it's coming from and why it's needed.
Great. I have the next one. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Lazarchev. My question is, as a veterinarian, we assume you are familiar with current trends in veterinary medicine, but which issues have affected you directly?
Yeah. Cannabis, if I can use that dirty word, it has been an absolute ongoing, I don't want to say nightmare, but it is really getting irritating. And with new legislation that's going to be there, I don't know how we're going to, you know, have to address those issues again. The other legislation with having to, with having to do the handout on all the drugs we dispense, it has affected me a little bit, but again, I don't see that that's necessarily a bad thing. We were able to implement it relatively easy, and I think I'm doing a better job at client education because of it. So those are the two and most recent memory that have affected me. I sure wish we could come to some sort of consensus with the public, the federal government, and the state on cannabis, because I'd sure like to be able to deal with this in some sane way. But
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, good morning, Doctor.
Good morning.
Do you have any particular issues that you would like to see the MDC address at this time?
Boy, there's a loaded question. No, and I don't think it's what I think that the board or the committee needs to address. It's what the board wants us to address. You know, that's the great thing about this, is they can use us as a sounding board for issues that are before them. You know, we seem to be addressing their major issues right now. I think we've got our hands full with that. You know, everything from the telemedicine, defining telehealth, teletriage, you know, the case reviews. Yeah, all of this is important. I wouldn't want to add anything to the plate because I can't think of anything else that we would deal with that wouldn't be as important as what we have right now.
Hi, Dr. Lazarshev. Can you think of any positions that you hold or activities that you are currently involved in that may present a conflict for you to serve as a member of the MDC and thus a representative of the Veterinary Medical Board?
No.
I figured. You're on deck, Dr. Nunez.
Dr. Nunez, you're on mute.
Is that question number 8, I think? Or where are we at?
Question number 8.
Is there anything else you would like to share with the board?
No, good to see you all today.
All right. Thank you for applying. And thank you for answering our questions.
No worries. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
And up next is Dr. Sequoia. And Dr. Bowler will, not Dr. Bowler, Kathy Bowler.
Sorry.
Bowler will start off
Hi.
with the question.
Is Dr. Sequoia on the, oh, maybe I'm just not seeing. Oh,
Yes, she is.
yes. Hello. Hi. I just didn't have you in my frame, so I wasn't sure you were there. Hello. Nice to meet you. Welcome. Why are you interested in this position?
Why am I interested in the MDC? Because I think I'm a member of the public. I'm a consumer too, as well as being a supplier of veterinary medical services. Obviously, I've been a consumer longer than I've been a veterinarian. I feel very strongly about protecting the public interest in consumers, and I feel that it's wonderful that there is a committee that can do the in-depth research for the VMB, which is also has to deal with administrative concerns. So I love digging into legislative and other detailed objects and concerns. I always read the ingredient labels on things when I purchase them, so I'm just sort of a very detail-oriented person, and I feel that this is what is needed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Sorry, I'm moving things around here. Hi, Dr. Sequoia. Thank you for applying and for coming today. We really appreciate your interest. So my question is, are you familiar with the functions of a licensing board or committee and the laws governing veterinary medicine in California? And do you have sufficient time to commit to the MDC for their collaboration, research project, meetings, etc.?
I'd like to answer the second part of the question first. I believe I have adequate time. I have to base that answer on what's available on the website. It's not actually specific as to how much time per meeting is involved, but making a rough guess, I was guessing that the behind-the-scenes work would be anywhere from 20 to 40 hours per quarterly meeting. I don't know if that's accurate or not. In terms of functions of the MDC, again, it's doing the detailed research on issues of concern for the Vet Medical Board, issues that are passed to the Vet Medical Board by the legislature, either directly or via proposed legislation, issues that are brought to the VMB by consumers, the public, and of course, case review, which Dr. Lazarshev has been so wonderful in terms of presenting what's going on.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning. Next question is, How do you feel your education, background, and experience have prepared you for membership on the MDC? And what assets do you think you can bring to the MDC that would complement the current membership of the committee? So what do you think you can bring that we might not already have there?
Well, you're already a very broadly based committee. I try to be very collaborative when I work with others, take the team approach. I really listen to people before coming to a conclusion. I have worked on for a long time on various task force, municipal task force. I have chaired the City of Berkeley Citizens Humane Commission for a number of years. As you can imagine, we have a lot of members of the public with various viewpoints coming to us with various suggestions. It is a strictly advisory body to the City Council. The Humane Commission takes no direct action. It listens to issues that are either sent to us from the City Council or from the public, and then we make recommendations to the City Council as to what we suggest they do. Our remit is animal care, animal issues in the City of Berkeley, and we are a public commission, so we operate under the Brown Act as well as other restrictions. So I am familiar with that. My education is I have a bachelor's in science from UC Berkeley. I have a doctorate of veterinary medicine from Tufts University in Massachusetts. I have practiced both in private practice and also for private shelters, nonprofit shelters. I have volunteered extensively for animal services, animal control organizations, municipal animal shelters, and advocacy and rescue groups. And as I say, I have also used veterinary services, specialists, I will admit, as a consumer as well as providing veterinary services. So I do feel I have a lot of experience in all various facets of the veterinary field, and I, again, try to take a very balanced point of view before coming to a conclusion.
Great. I have the next question. Nice to see you, Dr. Sequoia.
Hi.
Recommendations made by the MDC are based on its consumer protection mandate and are not always popular with the general profession. How do you think you will be able to handle making decisions based on the needs of consumers and their pets that may be unpopular with your colleagues?
That's an interesting question. I would say that in order to have reached my age and my position in the profession, I have had to deal with sometimes decisions for the greater good are not popular with my colleagues or personal acquaintances or friends, and it's just a matter of either you take an attitude that everything is related to you and everything is self-centered and self-centric, and we've kind of seen how that works out, not so great, or you say, I'm a member of society, and, you know, it's a balancing act. Yes, I have obligations to society, and sometimes the greater group takes precedence over what I personally want. So it's a very personal viewpoint, and I do believe individuals have an obligation if they're going to live in society, and this would be one of them. You know, I'm lucky, and I don't think any of my colleagues would be so annoyed with me that they'd send a hit person out. So it's something I can live with.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. As a veterinarian, we assume you're familiar with current trends in veterinary medicine, but which issues have affected you directly?
well, COVID-19, of course, has affected us all directly the most in terms of knock on from that. I would say that telemedicine, telehealth, teletriage, all of those, of course, are huge. They're unfortunately not well defined and well understood by either my profession or by the public. And I very much appreciate the MDC and the VMB working on establishing clear definitions and putting the information out there. I know it's an ongoing work in progress, but I would like to thank you all for working on that. Other things, I would certainly echo Dr. Lazarshev in saying that I think cannabis and the public and professional confusion about cannabis, what it is, how it can be used, and the federal government's not being in step with the state has also been a secondary aggravation. Hopefully it's resolved fairly soon.
Hi, Dr. Sequoia. Thank you so much for being here today. Do you have any particular issues that you would like the MDC to address at this time?
Beyond what you're already addressing, no. I think you've got enough on your plate.
Hello, Dr. Sequoia. Nice to see you. Can you think of any positions that you hold or activities you're currently involved in that may present a conflict for you to serve as a member of the MDC and thus a representative of the VMB?
No, I can't.
Okay.
Hi, Doctor. It's Kathy again. Last question. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the board at this time?
Yes, I would actually, and this is going to sound a little odd, but I am very concerned and active in civic affairs. I attend a lot of, have in person previous to COVID-19. Now it's for tele meetings. Local organizations that are active in land management. I'm concerned about public access to public lands. I track the East Bay Regional Park District closely, their activities. I also have gone to a lot of municipal meetings, East Bay MUD, the water utility. I also would like to share with you, if you don't mind, I'll be as brief as I can, an interesting little case that came in front of the City of Berkeley Humane Commission, which is sort of related to consumer protection. We had a group come to the Humane Commission, and they were interested in instituting a new code regulation at the city level on pet stores in the City of Berkeley. As you can imagine, the City of Berkeley has very few pet stores. It is not a particularly welcoming environment for business or small businesses or pet stores. Anyway, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, I believe, and the group wanted to, although it was really one person, wanted to insist on origin labeling for the animals, and they came to us and freely admitted the reason they wanted to do this was not because they wanted to give the information to consumers so much. That was secondary. The primary reason they wanted to do it was they wanted to get access to the suppliers of the animals, whether it was birds or amphibians and reptiles or whatever. There are already stringent rules about pet stores for dogs and cats in terms of they must come from rescue preferentially, but we had public hearings on this. We discussed it at length. We listened to a lot of testimony from both the pet store owners and the people who wanted to change it, and we came to the decision that we would make a recommendation to City Council that the people who, the benefit of the change would benefit perhaps 100 consumers who wanted more information posted on the animal enclosures versus getting it by asking the owners, the retailers, versus the 100,000 people in the city of Berkeley who were served by animal services, which would have been charged with enforcing this new regulation. So we felt that the needs of the 100,000 people in Berkeley were already relying on the resource-limited services of animal control versus the 100 consumers getting this information. The general public outweighed the special interest of the 100 consumers. So that's the recommendation we sent to City Council that they acted on. We did suggest City Council ask the four animal retailers to voluntarily post origin on animal enclosures, and that's what they did. So, long story, but I hope you see that it does show that I do consider, everybody's viewpoint and try to go for the greater common good.
Thank you, Dr. Sequoia. I appreciate that story.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you very much. I think I'm taking over for a moment because Dr. Nunez had to give his 20-year-old Chihuahua a potty break. So, and we can all remember what that's like. Anyway, so thank you. Next on our
quick question of Diane.
Sure.
I wondered if Dr. Sequoia, are you still on the CVMA Board of Governors, or have you been termed out?
I will be turning out in June, which is why I don't think there'll be a conflict of interest. I did consider that. Thank you very much.
Thank you
for bringing that up.
That's a good point. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Doctor. I think our next doctor on the list is Dr. Skogerson. I may have pronounced that wrong. I very much apologize. And I want to make sure she's here on my little, oh, there you are.
I'm here.
Hi, nice to see you.
And good pronunciation.
Oh, it was okay. Oh, good. Okay, thank you. Anyway, so welcome. Thank you very much. Thank you for applying. We really appreciate all the applications we've received. I will start out with the questions, which you're familiar with by now. First of all, why are you interested in this position?
It's a part of something I haven't done before. I've been on other advisory committees for veterinary assistants and now an RVT school. And I'm very involved with laws and regulations in my position as a shelter, the county veterinarian for Ventura County. And so it was something that came open, and I thought it would be very interesting, and I'd like to learn more and give advice, and especially coming from the shelter medicine side also.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Who's after me typically? I don't have the list in front of me since Mark's not here.
Dr. Bradbury is next.
Thank you.
Sorry, I was taking notes. I was hoping to get the first question because it's much shorter, but here we go. Thank you for coming. Are you familiar with the functions of a licensing board or committee and the laws governing veterinary medicine in California? And do you have sufficient time to commit to the MDC for their collaboration, research, project meetings, etc.?
So for the first part on the licensing board, I'm very familiar with the laws, of course, of a veterinary hospital, and also a lot of other laws that pertain to our animal, animal control and regulation and all those laws. As far as the committee, what I read about it on the website, and then also putting together what I do for the advisory committee for the veterinary assistant colleges here, and then also for the RVT college that just opened in Ventura. Giving advice, doing some research, helping out, and expediting. Just giving more advice and researching so that an informed decision can be made. And yes, I do believe I have time to commit. I'm busy, but I also have a very good support staff and leadership team that if I need to step out for a day or two or a couple days or whatever needs to be done, I have a lot of support behind me to do that.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, good morning. Next question is, how do you feel your education, background, and experience have prepared you for membership on the MDC, and what assets do you think you can bring to the MDC that would complement the current membership of the committee? So what could you bring to us that we might not already have represented?
Okay. Being a veterinarian and being licensed in both Nevada and practicing in Nevada and being licensed here in California and practicing here in California, knowing the various different laws and applying them. I was a business owner back in Nevada, and then I came to California and, started shelter medicine and stuff. And then my background on with being given a leadership position within the county of Ventura. Again, the advisory committees that I'm on, working with law enforcement, going through law books, giving classes to our staff on not only laws that we use, cruelty laws, but I teach euthanasia courses, doing that and giving the, I worked with NACA recently to do the animal care and control, the ACO tranquilizations in the field, right, for the Tilazol. And then my asset, I do know that shelter medicine is a huge growing population within veterinary schools. It's become its own entity, and keeping up with best practices in shelter medicine. And then private practice as an entity too. There's some similarities we need to work on, but there's also some differences and some things that we need to explore a lot more in shelters. Not every shelter is as blessed as our shelter is here in Ventura County, where I'm here as a veterinarian and I have a premise permit and my hospital is up to standards. We have other shelters that do a lot of good in the communities, but unfortunately they may not have the money and the backings that some of these larger shelters have. So I bring a shelter perspective to open discussions.
Great, thank you. Thank you for being with us, Doctor. I have the next question. Recommendations made by the MDC are based on its consumer protection mandate and are not always popular with the general profession. How do you think you will be able to handle making decisions based on the needs of consumers and their pets that may be unpopular with your colleagues?
Before we went under our own entity of animal services, we're part of public health, and I still consider what I do part of public health, and so I have to keep public health in mind when I do make decisions or go out into the community and get educational talks or treat pets of the homeless and stuff. And also, we have a very passionate following watching shelters and how they function. So being on the receiving end of maybe not very many wonderful, being on the receiving end of passion and not being very well liked, I'm very familiar with, and I've been doing it for 8 years. And yes, it's tough, but I'm still a public employee and I'm still a public facing person. And so we have to diplomatically reach conclusions.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
As a veterinarian, good morning, Doctor. As a veterinarian, we assume you're familiar with current trends in veterinary medicine, but which issues have affected you directly?
I think most recently, I think probably for everyone too, is the telehealth world out there. And we've had to kind of scramble because we completely shut down to the public due to the local government ordinances. And having hundreds of animals out in foster care and getting information out to adopters and stuff like that, that's been a really tough challenge. We've done it, and we've done a very good job
but it's still kind of cut and paste. It's a little chunky to try to move along that telehealth avenue. The other one I would say is the animal control officers carrying medicine and controlled substances in their truck affects me directly, as my license is like the huge umbrella of this entire organization. Making sure that all the officers have the education, the training, the knowledge of when to use something, when not to use something, has it's kind of one of those things I take extremely seriously, because it's not just them going out in the field, it's actually my, it's my license. So I take a lot of these things very seriously when it applies to the extension of my license and what my license covers.
Hello, Dr. Scorson. Do you have any particular issues that you would like to see the MDC address at this time?
I don't have any issues per se, but I would still like to continue the conversation of shelter medicine and how that, parallels private practice. And I know there's been recent conversation, and I think it just needs to continue as this profession develops, especially as we gain more One Health, right? Keeping animals and pet retention and keeping pets with the homeless population, and how we could all provide that great medical care. I think it's going to continue to evolve as we go into the future.
Hi, Dr. Skogerson. Can you think of any positions that you hold or activities that you are currently involved in that may present a conflict for you to serve as a member of the MDC and thus a representative of the Veterinary Medical Board?
No, I don't.
Thank you.
Alana, I think I jumped in front of you. So I apologize for that.
I was on mute though, so you got it.
I was asking. Do you want me to take the last mark, or do you want to? I don't.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. The last question is general. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the board at this time?
Not at this time. I just want to thank you for the opportunity to participate.
Thank you. Up next, there's a candidate by the name of Dr. Cheryl Waterhouse?
Waterbury.
That's it? Is there a Dr. Waterhouse in there?
It's Waterbury.
Waterbury, okay.
I've been called lots of things, yes.
And so Christina, Dr. Bradbury has the first question.
Ooh, yay. Hi, Dr. Waterhouse. Nice to see you. Why are you interested in this position?
When I was on the Veterinary Medical Board, I always admired the work of the MDC. I know they are the board that researches things and hashes them out and haggles over minute details and looks at every word. But I've always admired the ability of the board to, kind of reach a consensus and come to a good decision. So I just like to be a part of that dialogue.
Good morning, Dr. Waterhouse. I vaguely remember the Waterhouse administration. It's all coming back to me now.
Yes,
Familiar name.
Yes.
Are you familiar with the functions of a licensing board or committee and the laws governing veterinary medicine in California? And do you have sufficient time to commit to the MDC for their collaboration, research, projects, meetings, etc.?
Yes, I am very, very familiar, and yes, I have the time.
Good morning, Dr. Waterhouse. Good to see you.
Good morning.
How do you feel your education, background, and experience have prepared you for membership on the MDC? And what assets do you think you can bring to the MDC that would complement the current membership of the committee?
I have been a veterinarian coming up this spring for 40 years, yikes. Yes, 40 years. I've practiced, besides in California, I've also practiced in Iowa and Kansas and Missouri. I grew up on a farm, so I also have some large animal experience. I am a practice owner, and I have almost 20 RVTs and currently 10 associates. I'm working on trying to get 2 more. But I started out as a solo practitioner, so I have a wide experience that way. I come from the Central Valley, which that tends to be underrepresented. And so I think I can bring lots of different experiences to the board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Good to see you. Recommendations made by the MDC are based on its consumer protection mandate and are not always popular with the general profession. How do you think you will be able to handle making decisions based on the needs of consumers and their pets that may be unpopular with your colleagues?
Well, I was on the board for 8 years, and so I'm used to talking to my colleagues in my local VMA anyway. And if issues would come up and they would ask me questions, I would just explain the rationale behind them. So that hasn't stopped me from making any decisions.
Hi, Dr. Waterhouse. As a veterinarian, we assume you're familiar with current trends in veterinary medicine, but which issues have affected you directly?
Certainly Lizzie's Law affected me directly. The licensing, trying to get my RVTs and trying to get veterinarians coming into the state, trying to get them licensed, that's affected me directly. And the telemedicine a little bit. I listened to the MDC yesterday. I thought that Dr. Sullivan had great I like the fact that they're defining the 4 different tele-universe definitions, as Dr. Nunez put it. I think those were beautiful. That was great. And trying to get those things nailed down and more explanation for each type of telemedicine. I love the FAQs that were written. I think those really help. And so those are the main things that affected me directly. I haven't had as many people asking me about cannabis as some of the other people have mentioned.
Do you have any particular issues that you would like to see the MDC address?
I don't have any particular issues. I know that the board are the ones that decide the issues that the MDC should address and investigate and research. So I'm not coming in with any particular agenda or any particular issues, no.
How did you know that?
Hi there. Can you think of any positions you hold, activities you're currently involved in, that may present a conflict for you to serve as a member of the MDC and thereby a representative of the board?
No, I don't have any conflicts.
I think it's me again. And is there anything else you would like to share with the board?
I work hard. I think I'm known for researching things deeply. And anyway, I work hard. I'm able to devote the time to this project that I need. So anyway, thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
You know, one challenge with telemedicine is that you have to switch between screens for everything these days. I have 3 computers running and it's still a little confusing. So thank you, Dr. Waterhouse. I think that concludes our interview process. And so like I previously directed, what we're going to do is call for a nomination for the first open position. And after we make a decision on that, we'll call for a nomination on the second open position. So starting with the first open position, do I have any nominations from the board? And okay, I think I saw Kathy raise her hand first.
Oh, all right, Christine. I was going to nominate Dr. Lazarkoff Lazarev for reappointment, if that's the right position we're talking about.
For the first open position,
First open position.
Dr. Lazarev. Is there a second?
I'll second
that.
All right, it's been motioned and seconded. Do we have
This
to
is Tara.
discussion?
For clarity in the record, can you tell me who was the second on this nomination?
Alana was.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And do we have to open it up for discussion for the board and the public, or do we just vote?
Yes, you have to definitely open it up for the public for comment.
Okay, so are there any comments or questions from the board on this nomination? Hearing none, moderator, would you please?
This is the moderator. We have opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a public comment, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen. Type "I would like to make a comment" into the text field and submit that to all panelists. Seeing no comments, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please.
It is closed.
It's been motioned and seconded to have Dr. Lazarev be reappointed to the MDC. Questions have been taken from the board and the public. Shall we call for the question? Call for the vote.
Ms. Bowler.
Aye, sorry. Couldn't find the cursor.
Dr. Bradbury.
Yes.
Ms. Laredo.
Yes.
Ms. Prado.
Yes.
Ms. Yanis.
Yes.
Dr. Noland.
Yes.
Dr. Nunez.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. My condolences. I mean, congratulations, Dr. Lazarev. Then the second open position, I'm open for nominations for the second open position.
Hi, this is
I would-
Diana.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'd like to make a nomination for Dr. Sequoia.
I'll second that.
It's been seconded and it's been motioned and seconded for Dr. Sequoia. Any questions or comments from the board members? Dr. Bradbury?
Hi. So I would I really like Dr. Sequoia and felt that she interviewed very well. Being on the MDC, there are a few things on there that are challenging for the newer people on the MDC. Myself, I don't know how Dr. Payton feels, but we're pretty new to the group, and I guess I would prefer to have the experience and background that Dr. Waterhouse has, and so I think it's the experience that she brings, and also kind of it's the experience that she brings and her integrity that I also, not that Dr. Sequoia doesn't have that, I think she definitely does. I really like that about her, but I would nominate Dr.
I would just like to say that I think it's really important that we have diversity on these boards. We have no African American diversity represented on the VMB or the MDC. And in this day and age, when we need to be actively anti-racist, as a Latina, as one of the few Latinos on this board, I think it's extremely important that the MDC represents the population of California. And that's just not happening right now. And so I think we need to take responsible steps as a board to make sure that happens. Thank you.
I have a procedural question again. Sorry, I have a lot of those. So we had a motion and a second. So are we allowed to have 2 nominations, or would we just vote on the first one and then if it doesn't pass, have another nomination? I don't know if Tara or Jessica could answer that.
Yeah, so you would complete this motion by voting on it, and then you would have another motion if this one did not pass.
Yeah, I don't think we can have 2 motions on the table at once.
Sorry.
Oh, wait.
Any other comments from any of the board members?
Well, yeah, I just have a quick comment in regards to Dr. Bradbury's concerns. So I think that being someone that was relatively new when I first came onto the board, right? It is something that, and I've loved it, and I've learned a lot, and I'm like, and hopefully I've been able to contribute things to this board. And so I think that while I understand that, prior experience is important, I think also on the flip side of that is why it's so important to bring on somebody that is new, to add a different perspective, to be able to learn how things are going, and also be able to offer their point of view of how perhaps if things have been going along to get along, why perhaps that could be different and that could change. And given Dr. Sequoia's experience, given her passion, and also, the diversity, that is why I nominated Dr. Sequoia. And for no reason, because she spells also her name just like mine, but that's also a fun little fact.
Any other comments?
I would just like to say it's really encouraging to have so many qualified applicants. We have had other years where it's not been quite so easy to have really great qualified candidates. And in the last few times it's been really a privilege to see people step up. So I just wanted to really mention to all of them, thank you so much for your willingness to dedicate to public service.
I'd like to echo that, Dr. Noland. It's always my dream to have this same problem with the RVT candidates. So if the worst problem is that we have too many qualified candidates, that's a very good thing. I think we've got the institutional knowledge that Dr. Waterhouse brings. We have the different perspectives and experience of the other candidates. We are just in a very good position right now with too many good candidates.
Well, I don't want to complicate issues at all, but I'm going to, because I think Dr. Skogerson brings some shelter medicine expertise that might be really valuable in the months to come. So it's a really difficult decision. There's a lot. I agree with Dr. Bradbury that, I remember when I first joined the Veterinary Medical Board, I felt it was really nice to have people that were very experienced that could kind of help me through a lot of the policies and procedures and whatnot. And as you start adding a lot of people to the board that don't have that experience, it can be a little bit overwhelming. And so I really appreciate what she said. But this is I wish we could take all 3 of them. That would be my vote. But
Yeah, if I can just say something else here, I agree with with Diane. I remember having a similar discussion about bringing some new blood to the committees and how it would be nice to have that. And I definitely think that that's something that needs to happen from time to time. And I just would say that the last 3 MDC appointees were Dr. Payton, who is new. I am blanking on her name, our newest member, who has never been on this anything with the Veterinary Medical Board, is the newest, and myself, who while I have been on the board for a little while, I certainly have not participated in the MDC, and I'm just sort of starting to get my feet under me as to what that all means. And so that's why I felt like we've had 3 new people brought on right now. And I think that we could use the help of the institutional knowledge. So that's the only that's not the only reason, but that is the main reason why I felt like the experience was important in this particular appointment.
Kathy?
Yeah, I apologize. I had to step away, but I was listening. I just was dealing with an animal issue. I agree with a lot of everything that's been said. Mark and I looked at these, we got a lot of applicants for these positions, which was terrific. And the Dr. Sequoia, now I'm going to Skogerson, which I had it right before and I screwed it up now. Obviously, and Dr. Waterhouse are all terrific applicants. And I really do wish we had more positions available, quite honestly. I heard part of this and I really do feel like the MDC, after so many years on this board, has dealt with very complicated and detailed issues on compounding, on lots of different things over the years. And when I look at the makeup, I sort of agree with Dr. Bradbury. We have a lot of new members, which is terrific. But it's a small group, and having Dr. Waterhouse's background and institutional knowledge, I think is very important because of all the new members. I think we have at least 3, possibly 4 new members. I forgot, Dr. Bradbury, you were new on it. I was looking at Jamie. I was looking at the 3 new appointments that have been recently made. So that is where I was falling on all of this, even though it's not painful, it's a great problem to have. It's very hard to choose individuals. I was kind of looking at it from the board perspective and from the MDC perspective of the complicated issues that they're dealing with now and that they will be dealing with in the future, trying to give them the best, best makeup for the board that they could. So that's where I was thinking on all of this. But again, really impressed and really grateful for these applications. And I agree, Dr. Sequoia would be very good. It's just, I wish that we didn't have as many new people on the board as we have right now, on the committee is what I'm saying. So anyway, that's me.
What I would have to say is that we definitely did have an embarrassment of riches in the number of applicants we had for this position. And looking at the entire agenda that we have over the next 2 days, I actually thought this was going to be probably the most difficult decision to make for a lot of reasons. My best advice to you board members is to, number one, try to remember that our board and our MDC committee should be representative of what our licensed population is. And also keep in mind that what the prime function of the board and the MDC would be the consumer. So as you decide on who you're going to vote for, remember that the consumer's interest is paramount in any member that you choose to place in this position. That's the best I can advise you. And any other board members have any comments before we open it up to the public? All right, moderator, if you please.
This is the moderator. We have opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a public comment, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen. Type, I would like to make a comment into the ask field and submit that to all panelists. Not seeing any. Would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please.
It's closed.
All right. We are voting on the nomination of Dr. Sequoia. And Jessica, if you can call for the vote.
Ms. Bowler.
Is it? This is a weird question, but because this is a difficult vote, and I hate choosing between these two people. But can I abstain on this vote, or
you can abstain on any motion?
I hate to vote against Dr. Sequoia per se, because I was very impressed with her. But if we have to choose between the two, that's okay. I'm going to abstain, I think. I don't know what that does to the count here.
Dr. Bradbury.
No, and this is not because I don't think she's qualified. I just have to say that.
Ms. Laredo.
Yes.
Ms. Prado.
Yes.
Ms. Yanis. Oh, I see that she's saying yes, but she can't speak. So we're gonna mark her down as yes. Dr. Noland.
I'm going to say no, but have the same comment that Christina had, Dr. Bradbury. It's not because she's not fully qualified. I just think another candidate might be the best choice.
Dr. Nunez.
It's up to me, isn't it?
So right now we currently have 3 yeses and 2 nos, and then 1 abstention.
I'm going to say yes.
All right, so that makes it 4 yeses, 2 nos, 1 abstention. The motion carries.
Congratulations, Dr. Sequoia.
Thank you. I'm shocked. I'm very touched. I wish you could have Dr. Waterhouse with me because I love her institutional experience.
It was a difficult decision, and I think that all the candidates, again, are remarkably qualified. But I'm very pleased with the composition of our MDC. I'm very proud of all the work that they do, and I'm sure we will continue to have great success in that. And that concludes that agenda item. I think that this is probably a good place to have a lunch break. And we will take an hour lunch break and return at 12:30. Thank you.
Thanks all. Enjoy your lunch.